The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Alrighty, it's Thursday, the 4th day of December 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lenders, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. And on Hot 107.5, I'm Jamal Hartman. We'll have a news break from Teo Dill in a bit to bring you the latest in the news. But how's everyone feeling on this Friday, Junior, Thursday morning? How's everyone feeling? Everyone good? Having a great week? It is the first official week of the final month of the calendar year. So hopefully everyone is, having a great start to the final month of the calendar year. We've got Suzanne Ingham says it's a super awesome, top-notch Thursday, better known as Sherry E Day. So let me tell you a quick story about Sherry. So this is a true story. And even like there was a guy in line at Heron Bay Marketplace, and even the cashier will tell you. So I know Sherry likes this popcorn that they sell at the store, right? So I went to the store to get Sherry this popcorn. But Sherry stays about far from me, like 30-something miles from me. She's far, right? Bermuda and some. So I got her 3 bags of popcorn. And then I realized, well, I'm probably not going to see her before I go back to Bermuda, and I don't want the popcorn to go bad. So I ate it. Well, I told Sherry about this. I said, I bought you back some popcorn, but I ate it because I'm not going to see you before I go back to Bermuda, and I didn't want to go bad. Well, she wasn't impressed, folks. Moral of this story, if you get someone a gift and you're unable to give it to them, don't tell them, all right? I'm sorry. I just spit up breakfast. I cracked myself up. Anyway, yeah, Sherry's not, she hasn't forgiven me as of this morning. But anyway, greetings to everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. You made me crack up my breakfast. A good one today as we welcome for the very first time the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the Honorable Kim, Kim Wilkerson. I had a muffin just now. The Honorable Kim Wilkerson is coming on. We're going to be discussing the jury reform consultation. I'm really excited about this conversation because I read an article last week where, they were talking about this, and I believe the author of an op-ed had written about this, and I saw something from a local lawyer saying, why don't lawyers included, but going back to some cases over the years, I remember saying on this show, juries are supposed to be made up of our peers, and from what I see sometimes or told, me making that Sherry joke really got me this morning, folks. Hold on 2 seconds. Sorry. That Sherry got the muffin stuck in my throat, and I never eat before the show. That's a reason why. But anyway, really looking forward to the conversation with the Honorable Minister. The Daily Play is going to be holiday trivia today. All right. So some more holiday trivia for you. And don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, folks. Well, Suzanne didn't find my Sherry joke funny. She said, you still owe her. No, I told her I'm going to get an additional popcorn this time. Instead of 3 bags, I'll get a 5. And you all can hold me to that. All right. You can hold me to that. Good morning, says Miss Ellen Kate Horton. Good morning to you. All right. This is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. Let's jump right into it, folks. Give me a second. Sorry. Yeah, that Sherry joke really got me this morning. All right, so let's jump right into it. What are your thoughts on hiring non-Bermudians to lead tourism? What are your thoughts on hiring non-Bermudians to lead tourism? And also, do you believe that Bermuda tourism should be led by Bermudians? Do you believe that Bermuda tourism should be led by Bermudians? Now, you all saying, well, Jamel, why are we talking about tourism this morning? Right? That's what you're probably saying, right? Well, Bermuda tourism is going under the radar a bit. They've been going under the radar. And oops, what is that? I'm hearing myself. But they've been going under the radar a bit. And they haven't had a full-time CEO. They've had Erin Wright, I believe her name is now, as the acting CEO. Now, the board is led by I believe he's acting as well, the acting chair, Mr. William Griffith, right? But I'm challenged. I'm challenged here because you remember when I told you all I heard a little rumor earlier this year that the OBA was going to announce Michael Fay? And then it happened. Well, I'm hearing some rumors, and you know, I don't like the gossip on the show, but I'm hearing some things about the BTA leadership that should make us, I guess, think or concerned. But I'll share some things with you. So again, what are your thoughts on hiring non-Bermudians to lead tourism? And do you believe that Bermuda tourism should be led by Bermudians? So let me just share a few things, because I may say some things that most people don't agree with, which is normal on this show. But here's why this question matters. Tourism isn't just business. It's identity, it's culture, it's reputation, and it's livelihood. The BTA's job is to help shape how the world sees Bermuda. So leadership choices for this organization feel personal. And there's a case for Bermudian leadership here. Hear me out, audience, and share this conversation, because this is not just with tourism. But there's a case for Bermudian leadership in this particular space. We love to talk about authenticity, but we don't often speak about cultural authenticity. A Bermudian leader can speak from lived understanding, the history, the customs, the dialect, the sensitivities, without learning Bermuda on the job. The trust and buy-in. Locals may actually support strategies more if they feel represented at the top. Talent pipeline. Prioritizing Bermudians creates a message that tourism is a serious career path with leadership opportunities. And avoiding branding mistakes. And I'm not going to pick on anyone, but during my time having the non-Bermudian leadership we had, they misread things. They didn't truly understand what made Bermuda special. I just mentioned yesterday on the show, right? They didn't understand the Gumbays. The true Gumbay experience isn't the Gumbays performing at a damn hotel, especially a hotel that doesn't even want them present. The true Gumbay experience is following the Gumbays through the streets of Bermuda. non-Bermudian leadership doesn't understand that. They don't even have an appreciation for the gun base. Truthfully, the only things they seem to latch onto and appreciate are knee-high socks and shorts, which doesn't reflect the Bermuda that I grew up in. But I digress. Well, let's make a case for hiring the best person, because I'm going to be honest with you. And this is where you all may disagree with me. I actually do believe we do need non-Bermudians in leadership positions. Only if we don't have Bermudians with that sort of experience or global understanding. Tourism leadership is extremely competitive. It's a data-driven industry, which drives me nuts. But experience in major markets can be a huge advantage because it's relationship-based. It's about networking. Non-Bermudian leaders may bring partnerships, like whether it's airlines, cruise ships, PR reach, investor connections, that Bermudians don't have. But the challenge to that, as I tried to do in the Bermuda Tourism Authority, and we spoke about it last week, succession planning. These folks get in these positions, realize how comfortable it is, how they can manipulate data to make it look like they're doing a good job. I think Charles H. Jeffers II said it best. And I don't want to quote him wrong, but it was something to the effect that the true measure of how well tourism is how the people are living. Something to that effect. And if he's tuned in, he can correct me. But I believe that Bermuda has to take a balanced approach to its leadership in tourism, like in most things. There has to be a mix. There are not enough Bermudians with relationships in this space. So we need to have people who have that experience in relationships and Bermudians under them who would be ready to take over from them in 2 to 3 years. But we cannot do what we did when we first started the Bermuda Tourism Authority, which is have basically all non-Bermudian leadership. And I know some of you say, well, this person was Bermuda. That person didn't have a true connection to Bermuda. And I'm going to be honest with you. One of the biggest problems we have in Bermuda is that when a Bermudian does get the position, we treat them worse than the foreigner who had the position before. We put them under more pressure than the other person had. Because with us, how that person's in that position, they shouldn't be doing that. But we have to find a balanced approach. And I remember saying in a class at Bermuda College, and they disagreed with me, we need non-Bermudians to be successful in most industries, but especially in tourism, because there are not enough Bermudians with the relationships to make things happen. This is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. Let's go to the comments. Again, what are your thoughts on non-Bermudians? What are your thoughts on hiring non-Bermudians to lead tourism? And do you believe that Bermuda tourism should be led by Bermudians? We've got Ageless says yes. Yes, believes Bermuda tourism should be led by Bermudians. We've got Suzanne Ingham says yes, only a Bermudian can sell Bermuda the best. We know things about Bermuda that no outsider will never know. Yeah, that may be true, but selling Bermuda and having the relationships to actually get in spaces with people that we want to sell to are completely different. I get you. I believe no one can sell Bermuda like a Bermudian. But to get in some spaces, we need to build those relationships. And we honestly don't have them. I'm speaking from a person who's been in that space. What's crazy to me, and I'm not just saying this because he's a fan of the show or he comments a lot. We finally got the one Bermudian who has worked in this space globally. And due to a chairman with an ego bigger than New York City, that person wasn't given a fair shot. Kenton Trott says, yes, 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 yes. Okay. I don't think there's any no's. Dr. Anthony Richardson, he says, yes, the best people to sell Bermuda are Bermudians. We know our history and culture, the written and unwritten, or have a team mixed with Bermudians and non-Bermudians headed by a Bermudian. Yeah. I think that's it. It's got to be a mix, though, folks. Miss Ellen Kate Horton says, yes, I believe that tourism and many other top jobs should be held by Bermudians. Yeah. I mean, hire the top Bermudian and surround them by people, both Bermudians and non-Bermudians, who, can help grow the organization and in turn Bermuda tourism. But nope. Larry Marshall says, agreed, well said, a mixed approach. I think here's an example I'll give you. Hazel Clark. I'm going to use Hazel Clark. So prior to me leaving the Bermuda Tourism Authority, I had this idea for a sports tourism plan. They told me it was trash and it would never work. I mean, they dissed me. Months after they let me go, Hazel Clark walks through the door. I did not know Hazel, right? Hazel Clark took sports tourism and did things that even the most dedicated and most biggest Bermudian lover didn't believe was possible. Hazel Clark's not Bermudian. Hazel Clark is a lover of Bermuda, a spouse of a Bermudian, and the mother of Bermudian. But she had relationships that helped catapult Bermuda as a tourist destination for sports and events. That's a case where a non-Bermudian came in and actually tried to bring other Bermudians along to be successful and have those relationships and keep things going. So you understand the mix now? That's a perfect example where she was not born or raised in Bermuda, but she was the best person for that job. You get me, audience? Am I making sense? The Jeffers family says, what I have said is if tourism is doing well, you won't have to tell the people will feel it. Yes. That was too close to my governmental quote about Michael Fay in 2017 leading up to the general election. I said, a government that does for the people doesn't have to tell them. The people will feel it. So yeah, very similar to that. Thank you, Charles. Ms. Ellen Kate Horton says, of course, succession planning is most important. The fact that some top civil servants are non-Bermudians concerns me to no end. I don't think that should be the case. I agree with you. I agree with you. They shouldn't be there that long where that is the case. Dr. Anthony Richardson says, classic crabs in a barrel syndrome. You see a Bermudian at the helm and instant efforts to derail them, pull them down, or back in the barrel. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. We don't have many Bermudians in this space globally. So when we do get them, we need to support them. We need to be there for them. Unfortunately, that's not how we operate. And it's sad. The Jeffers family says, as for succession planning, a good leader should always be thinking about what's next and who's next. Well, I'm going to say good leadership is subjective at this point. And I say it's subjective because to some, a good leader is the person who just makes people believe they're doing a great job. I don't agree with that. I'm just saying. Audience, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on hiring non-Bermudians to lead Bermuda tourism? And just a yes or no. Yes or no. Do you believe that Bermuda tourism should be led by Bermudians? Just a yes or no. Do you believe that Bermuda tourism should be led by Bermudians? Do you believe that's a yes or no? Do you believe Bermuda tourism should be led by Bermudians? Ms. Ellen Kate Horton says, I certainly agree with your last comment, having a Bermudian who didn't last, not because he had issues, but because others in power have their hands in too many places. It's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate. And I try to say this without bias, right? But it is bias because I personally want to see a Bermudian in the top job, not just because they're Bermudian, but because they have the experience and success to prove that they belong there. But if we're going to put them in that position, we have to allow them to do the job. I'm not going to sit here and speak for Charles Jaffas or anyone else, but from the outside looking in, and I'm going to be honest, Mr. Jaffas has not shared with me to the extent of him leaving the BTA. So let me be very clear there. And I haven't asked, he hasn't shared. But from the outside looking in, there hasn't been another qualified Bermudian to do that job based on what the job asked for. However, in that position just over a year, I think we would all agree that he was not given a fair shot. Did he hire anyone in his C-suite executive team? Nope. Was he able to build his own team? Nope. You cannot, and this is on the premier, you cannot appoint a big ego as a chairman who wants to run an organization as the CEO. You can't do that. Folks, this is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. Do you believe that Bermuda tourism should be led by Bermudians? Dr. Anthony Richardson says yes, folks. We have to, we've got a very special guest coming up for the first time. We've got the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Kim Wilkerson, coming up, but we have to go to Teo for the news break prior to that to see what he's got for us over there. But before that, let's show some love to Titan Express and Secure.
The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All right. Before we go to the news break, Larry Marshall had a comment here. He says, further to your point, high-ranking members close to U.S. track and field were stunned and wondered how Bermuda got a 3-year contract for a USATF meet. Folks, I want to thank you for sharing this. That's the importance of having people with connections and networks and relationships. That's the importance of having a Hazel Clark in that space, right? So again, this is not anti-Bermudian, but Hazel Clark will tell you herself that she could not do her job successfully without the support of the Bermudians around her. Yes? So there has to be a mix. What concerns me with Bermuda tourism more than anything is that we don't look within. It's this comment that the former CEO made that really ticked me off back in the day. When, Bermudians were very vocal about tourism. And he said, 90% of our staff are Bermudian. Man, Sarah, look, first off, it's like what I said about Craig Kenner and the OBA. Stop telling people you're going to create jobs. It's no point in creating a job if they're underemployed. I'm going to say the same thing with this. Folks, it don't matter how many Bermudians are employed if none of them are in decision-making positions. I remember walking across that boardroom in New York City. All the Bermudians walking across. And you know who was in the boardroom? The white non-Bermudians. How are you telling me they know what's best for Bermuda and not one Bermudian? I'm not even going to say black. Not one Bermudian was in that room. That's how decisions were being made. So miss me with the nonsense of, well, our staff's 90% Bermudian. Bermuda tourism, and let me be very clear in saying this. Because I want to, because I know people are sitting there, well, what about the best person for the job? I agree. I don't want just any Bermudian. I want competent individuals to lead Bermuda tourism. So this is not just about Bermudians. It's about the best Bermudians. And I believe that the best Bermudians can do a better job than anyone when it comes to represent Bermuda tourism. Ask me how I know. And this is not an excuse for the incompetent to keep doing what they do. Sometimes you got to flush the system. It's good to tell you, Dill, for your daily hour news break. In the meantime, if you're streaming with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, and colleagues. The Honorable Minister, Kim Wilkerson, is coming up after the news break.
Good morning, I'm Teo Dill, and welcome to your TDH News Break from the great folks at Peoples. At Peoples, we've grown with you from family care to whole life wellness because good health blooms in the right environment. And another shooting in the heart of our capital city has necessitated a brand new police investigation. The BPS have launched this inquiry as a result of guns being fired into an Angle Street home on Tuesday night around 9:30 p.m. After the report came in, officers rushed to the scene, which thankfully found no reported injuries and sadly recovered evidence confirming that a firearm was in fact discharged at the location. Anyone with information is asked to contact Acting DI Anika Donawa of the Serious Crime Unit on 717-2250 or adonawa@bps.bm. And the national road repaving effort's been going well, despite legacy infrastructure making the process tougher than would be preferable. This from Works and Engineering Minister Jashay Adams during a recent interview with TNN's Trevor Lindsay on Facebook, where the minister explained the 4 key factors that facilitate effective road paving.
In any given day, there are 4 things that need to happen in order to pave. I need a working plant, or we need a working plant. We need working paving equipment. We need good weather. And we need the appropriate staff. All 4 of those things have to be working in order to pave. At any given time, one of those things, there's an issue with one of those things, there is no paving. And so we continue to invest in those sorts of things to ensure that we minimize the days that we are not paving.
And our, for what it's worth, mother country, hurts saying that, has just published their annual budget, which contains new tax policy that could impact us here in Bermuda in a real, for real way, good, bad, or maybe a bit of both. The UK's 2025 budget freezes income tax thresholds for the next 5 years, which means more UK residents will be pushed into higher tax brackets over that period, aka folks with a high net worth might just end up looking for a place like this to stash their cash to avoid His Majesty's Revenue and Customs Department coming to get them. Basically, people with or responsible for a lot of money who used UK-based investments as part of international wealth holding strategies may reconsider the UK as their base. However, this is likely to increase global regulatory attention and tax transparency, which will put extra burdens on the BMA to provide compliance, regulatory clarity, and value beyond just low taxes. Put another way, the UK's budget shakeup doesn't just matter for London. It might just tilt the balance of global capital, which could reshape demand for financial services here in Bermuda. And there's currently a heated court battle going on involving one reinsurance company accusing another of poaching a half dozen senior Bermuda-based executives, leaving their job to join another company. Reinsurance specialist Guy Carpenter took Willis Reed to court, alleging that the latter orchestrated a coordinated recruitment drive across 3 continents, resulting in the simultaneous departure of 5 high-level Bermuda-based employees, including one CEO. According to the filing, Willis executives strategically sequenced the recruitment effort to begin in Bermuda rather than London or the U.S. because of, now here's the interesting part, Bermuda's more flexible notice period rules and the expectation that the jurisdiction would attract less attention. Industry stakeholders identify recruitment as one of the biggest sector-wide challenges as the workforce ages and talent acquisition hurdles continue to climb. And speaking of employee poaching, this brings to mind one of the biggest stories on the planet. That is the relationship between infamous sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and President Donald Trump. According to Trump, the reason he ended his friendship with Epstein had little to do with Epstein's victims, more to do with his loose HR policy.
He hired help, and I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again, and I threw him out of the place, persona non grata.
Yes. You all know him as Jeffrey Epstein, the sex trafficker. But I knew his dark side. He was the sex trafficking, I was like, okay. But he was also a low-level employee poacher.
Now, as far as the weather's concerned, conditions will be a bit gray and wet due to the exit of a weakening cold front to our east. This should leave behind light northerly winds that'll gradually strengthen with the chance of a bit of periodic rain, increasing sunny intervals and air temps sitting between the low 70s and the mid 60s. As we approach the weekend, conditions should get a bit more dry and chilly, so don't worry so much about your rain suit, but keep your hoodie close by because you're going to need it. And that's your TDH News Break brought to you by our friends at Peoples. I'm Teo Dill. Back to the show.
Thanks so much for that, Tay. that Jon Stewart clip was hilarious. All right, folks. Days of the year. We've got National Cookie Day. It's World Wildlife Conservation Day. International Cheetah Day. Cabernet Franc Day. That's wine. National Dice Day. National Sock Day. But we're going to go with Santa's List Day. So whether you've been naughty or nice, I want to ask all of you, what's on your list this year? What's on your Christmas list this year? Me? Oh, I'll go first. Okay. I like I said the other day, I want pictures of family. I don't have many pictures in and around my apartment, and people always wonder that. And I'm like, because everything's online now, right? So I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna go with pictures. But what's on your list? I want pictures of my family. So if my family's tuned in, pictures. Just pictures. Pictures. We've got Traveling Trotty said business class ticket to Fiji. Okay. All right. Business class. There you go. All right. See what we can do, Traveling Trotty. We'll get that GoFundMe going. Real quickly, we've got one last comment. We've got to go to commercial break because we've got the minister on. Dorian says, my dream team at the BTA would be Dr. Ewart Brown as chairman of the board, Charles Jeffers as CEO, supported by Hazel Clark and Jessica Aswit. I like that. And Jessica does amazing work at the city of Hamilton. If you don't know Jessica, she's the head round there in charge of Taste Bermuda events and so on. I think that would be an amazing team. I think many people who put emotions aside and think logically would probably agree with Dorian right there. My mortgage paid off. That's what's on Suzanne Ingham's Christmas list. Okay, keep it coming, audience. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We've got the Honorable Minister. I'm excited. Her first time on the show. So looking forward to it. Talking jury reform. So folks, get your questions, comments ready, and get ready for a very informative conversation. Stick with us. We'll be back in a few.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Take a look at our workbook for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Paired with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast, so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Shoe bite? You can't say that. Oh, sorry. I'm just here practicing for my family game night this Christmas. Check it out. Shoe bite, Bermuda's own twist on the classic word guessing game, is here. Get ready for laughter, friendly chaos, and a whole lot of Bermuda flavor. And here's the best part. One lucky box has a golden ticket with a grand prize courtesy of One Communications. So visit BermudaTrivia.com to find out where to get yours today. Now, shoe bite, I'm trying to practice for my family game night.
At HSBC, how we do business in our community is as important to us as what we do for our community.
This is the 6th year that HSBC has graciously funded the She Leads course. Everything is provided for them thanks to HSBC, and we really want to thank them for their support with this program.
Thank you to all of the charities, corporate partners, and HSBC volunteers for your commitment to our community.
Every space has a message, whether it's a store, a government office, or a doctor's waiting room. With Store Tunes Radio, transform your environment with customized music and professional messaging that keeps people informed, engaged, and at ease. Easy to use, built for organizations of every kind. Powered by Bermuda Communications Group. Store Tunes Radio, the soundtrack to better customer experiences. Visit storetunesradio.com to learn more.
Alrighty, welcome back. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the big show, the Daily Hour here, brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a regular basis and pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5 with these most important community conversations. Folks, please don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, without further ado, got a very special guest today. Let's give a warm TDH. Well, dang, we got questions coming already. Warm TDH welcome to the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Kim Wilkerson.
Good morning, Jamal. Thank you for having me.
Greetings. Thanks for coming. Calm down. They were getting out of control just now. Sure, I've got to ask you, I know you've been backstage, not sure if you were listening, but I've got to put you on the spot about our conversation this morning. Do you have anything you want to say about that, like Bermudians in top positions in tourism? Or
Well, I got to be politic. You know I'm a fan of the show, right? But, I was following the comments and I was like, this is not fair. We get to talk about jury reform after tourism, and which is such a hot topic right now. Because I'm in the Airbnb business, right? Okay. And the way that we maintain a 5-star rating year after year after year is because we're in the business. We are in the mix. The people who come to stay at my home have contact with me, my partner, my family, and that's what they go home talking about. And we communicate the Bermuda value proposition like nobody else can. Because we live it. And the other thing I would say about, you talked about, there is an absolute need to have people who have broader and wider experience in terms of relationships. And, I'm a huge fan of Hazel Clark, but because of the work, right? Not because the fact that she's in Limbaugh, because of the work. And I happen to have, a granddaughter who's now 9, who is, a budding track star. And for her at the age of 7 to have contact with people like Titi Terry, and, to have a clinic with Olympic athletes, to stand up and say, yes, I met Noah Lyle. These are experiences these are the deposits for young Bermudians that will go far beyond what when we try to measure the tourism dollar, it's way more than that. It's way more than that.
Absolutely. And I hope that last part, more than anything, really sticks with people. We're so distracted by data, right, that we forget the human element of what it actually means over time. And thank you for sharing that about a young child, not even 10 yet, what this experience could mean and do for her. I have one more question before we get into today's conversation. Sure. It's Christmas list day. Got to ask, what's on the AG's Christmas list this year?
You mean for myself?
Yeah, what's on your Christmas list?
Oh yeah, there are a few books that I'm interested in. That's all. I'm like simple like that. Yeah.
Okay, easy enough. Easy. No, I should have said a book. All right, let's jump into today's conversation. But first off, thank you for doing this. Thank you for your patience. Appreciate you for making time to come on. This is not new, this conversation. Public consultations have started, but for those in the audience who may not be following closely, What is jury reform, and what problems or gaps is the government trying to fix here?
Okay. It seems that people are very reluctant generally to serve on a jury. We want to address that issue. A second issue is that when people do serve, there is sometimes a hardship around serving, a financial hardship. You know, the fee that you get for serving on a jury is infinitesimal, right? And there has to be some recognition that there is a financial sacrifice for some people to serve, and that might be part of the reluctance. That's an issue that we're trying to address. The other is there have been some cases where a very serious trial, right, has had to be abandoned, right? So where the Crown has said they weren't going to do a retrial in cases where the jury has fallen apart because of various reasons. But sometimes it's because we have a system where you have 12 jurors, you have 2 reserves. If you could imagine during getting close to and close after COVID, people being ill, and then you have the inability to actually fill the jury because of the way that the system works right now. Those are issues. And then, of course, we have somewhat of a backlog in cases. And some may argue that the backlog isn't because of the jury problem. The backlog is because of the maladministration, right, in the judiciary. And I take both on. The judiciary falls under the Ministry of Justice. And we have had challenges. We've had challenges around courtrooms and the rest of it. But there is a problem with assembling a jury of peers for every case. Generally, people are reluctant to serve. And I know from my own experience, I did not want to do it, Jamel. I was called into the jury pool. I'm a lawyer, right? And I previously had served about a decade ago as a senator. So I'm like, I know when I go up there, they're going to tell me to stand down. So I didn't even have an excuse made up, right? So when the judge called my name and I stood up, you stand up, you get a number, you stand up, and then you have the opportunity to say whether you believe you're going to be biased, whether you know the defendant. And that's the other thing. In Bermuda, we've got like 1 degree of separation between people. So very often people stand up and they're like, nah, man, that was my boy. I'm in high school with him. That's actually my cousin. I know I'm a sister to, and in Bermuda, we have convoluted family structures, right? Unlike, they happen in other island jurisdictions, but kind of unlike what you would see in a bigger population or in England. So we have that going on. And people are able to stand up and say, well, they say, because of my religious beliefs, I'd really be biased, right? Or in whatever the case may be. So, or whatever, you have the opportunity to make an excuse. So in my case, I just didn't have one prepared because I just knew that I was going to be stood down. And being stood down means you stand up, and then I knew the defense attorney, I knew the prosecutor, I knew the judge, right? I didn't know the defendant. And before I had an opportunity to open my mouth and say, excuse, I didn't even have one. I was in. And I was like, darn, right? I wasn't going to say a bad word on the radio. But anyway, so I'm in the jury pool. And so I have this experience that I otherwise would not have had, because people say it's too time consuming. You don't want to have to make decisions about someone's freedom, incarceration or not. But I did it, and it was one of the best experiences I've had. It was a fantastic experience intellectually. And I did feel like I was doing my duty as a citizen, right? But I had all the noise around what it's like, what it's going to be, and all of that. So I just didn't want to do it. And I think most people are probably like me. They just don't want to do it, right? And sometimes people have legitimate reasons for not wanting to do it. But sometimes there's a misunderstanding of what's involved, and people don't want to do it. So we wanted to get all of that out. And then the other thing that I've heard is that people say, I'm up for it, I did it, and they keep calling me back.
Yes.
And then you have other people who said, I really want to serve on a jury, and
I've
I've
never
never
been
been called.
Yep.
And so we're saying, well, you know what I mean? So we're looking at everything. We're looking at the whole system to figure out, and the objective is to try to make sure that any defendant has a proper jury of their peers and what that really looks like.
So it's interesting you say that, because you mentioned something about jury of your peers. You said that twice, right? And there was a case about 15 years ago, and a journalist, I reached out to her and I said, having been through the court process, I understand that what we hear on the news or read in the news is only like a snippet of what happens in the actual courtroom.
Sure.
But based on the snippets I heard and read, I just couldn't understand how a jury found this person guilty, right? And the journalist said to me, if you saw the makeup of the jury, you would have understood that this person didn't have a chance. However, and I guess my question is, how do we get around this? Because like you said, Bermuda's very small. I mean, separation is not great. So it's almost like that black boy or person on trial is literally may have to have a jury made up of non-black people, because there's but
yeah,
then
absolutely,
that feeling that, well, I'm guilty before my lawyer even starts. Like, how do we get around this? Oops, I think the minister is frozen. I think the minister's frozen, so we'll give her a second to come back. But yeah, that's the challenge that I have, audience. That's the challenge that we have is how do we get that mixed jury, gender-wise, race, and the like? How do we get that? And I'll definitely get to the questions that you all have been sending through as soon as we're able to get the minister back. But this is a fascinating conversation. It's a fascinating reform. It's fascinating reform that's taken place. And I think everyone should have an interest in this. And this is not just about people who are going on trial. It's about everyday Bermudians who may be called to sit on a jury. Personally, I've never been called, and I'm not going to knock on wood because I actually would not mind if I needed to serve on a jury. However, I honestly don't. Okay, having gone through conscription, where so many people made excuses to keep it, I don't understand why people are so against jury duty. And then you mentioned some of the things we, fought against in conscription. Well, if someone's a barber, for instance, they got paid based on the haircuts they cut. If they have to go in to the regiment or something, then they don't have that same opportunity to make the money, right? So I think there's some things where compensation comes in. So let's bring the honorable minister back in. We're going to bring her back in. Just give us 2 seconds, but keep your questions and comments coming. We'll get to your questions and comments in a bit. But as the minister went off, we were just discussing how do we ensure that those on trial have a fair jury that reflects the community they live in. How do we get there? All right. So let's see. Hopefully the minister is ready to come back in. Minister, you ready?
I see you. Yeah, this is the thing. Just
okay. No worries.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
No problem. No problem. Technology.
Yeah,
we're talking about the jury. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was starting to say there have been a couple of cases where there have been challenges on the opportunity to preempt. And that would be what and the inequity between what the defense is able to do in terms of challenges to the jury and what the Crown is able to do. So those cases have been helpful in evening that playing field. But I think that there's still a lot more work to do in making sure that there is a pool to pick from so that there is a jury of peers in the room. So sometimes you say, well, gee, the jury didn't look really representative. And it's like, well, what did the pool look like? I think that's the question. Hopefully you're hearing me, Jamal.
Yes, we hear you. We hear you
Thank
clearly. Yes, we've got a lot of questions coming through, but I want to go through a few more questions that I have.
Sure.
Minister, how will the these reforms improve the fairness though in representation, like people sitting in judgment truly reflecting Bermuda's community? Because as someone asked in the audience, and I'll go to it, as we're doing the reform, is there a legal definition of who a peer is?
I don't think there is. I don't think there is. And bear this in mind. That could look like a number of things, and it has to be what the defense is satisfied with, right? And I'm just going to say this, all right? I was on a case where a Black defendant on a charge of having had marijuana, right, or something like that. And I think the preemptions were on, like a lot of white people were stood down. They said, no, we're not going to have that. Why have that? And then we get in the back of the room and we're finding out that all of the people who were stood down are the people who were like serious weed smokers, right? And they were most of the people who were excused, right? They were stood down. So it's a thing of, there has to probably be some science as well, right?
Yeah.
To how you're selecting them, because what we see as a peer in terms of age or race may not necessarily be a peer. It could be a peer in terms of habits and so on, right? That thing, yeah.
No, I get you. One concern, and you kind of touched on some of these earlier, people often raise is trust, right? The delays, the reluctance to serve, or fear of intimidation. And there was a case earlier this year where quite a few gentlemen got off that involved guns, and people were shocked. People in the system were shocked that every last one of them got off. How does the consultation address public confidence and jurors' safety?
That's a really good question. So one of the proposals is around whether or not there is appetite and space for trials of a certain nature to be without a jury. And the case would be if there is any evidence of jury temper. And it's a complicated and sensitive subject, and we're putting it out there. And some of the feedback has been really interesting. People have said, because we've been doing some small consultations already, and we're going to be doing one next week down at Francis Patton, hosted by the Hamilton Parish Council. And the few that we've done so far, we did one in Somerset, hosted by the Somerset Parish Council. We did one in Paget. Paget Parish Council hosted that. Some people have said, and we're also looking at all of the comments that come on forum, and in any other setting. So rest assured, my team will be looking at the comments today. And we take that into the consultation, because we know everybody isn't going to go on, forum.gov.bm and type in their views there. So that's the one thing. We know that there's a wide-ranging scope of spaces where you could get public opinion from, and it's important to use all of those. But one of the things that we've heard is that, no, I really wouldn't be comfortable with a single judge, but I might be comfortable if there was a panel of judges and not a jury, right? In a case where jurors maybe the case might have started with a jury, or the profile of the case is such that a jury wouldn't feel safe, right? So that is part of the consultation as well, absolutely.
Got it. I'm going to go to the audience. There's quite a few comments, questions, and audience. I'll do my best to get through all of them, but as you know, we just don't have the time to get through everything. Charles H. Jeffers II says, are former employees of the court system not eligible to serve on a jury? I worked there 30 plus years ago and would love to be called to serve on a jury. Who is eligible to serve?
Right. So we are also looking at categories of ineligibility and revising those, because if someone was ineligible because, like the caller just said, they worked on the courts 30 years ago, that was 30 years ago. So there has to be some cutoff time And so all of those categories of ineligibility will be looked at. You know, if you look at the Jurors Act is a 1971 act, and it has the categories of exemption would have been, you know, if you work for cable and wireless, right? So you would have been an essential worker, you know, in case the power went out. I mean, so, right? So some of that isn't relevant anymore. Or if you worked on a tugboat, you know, which might be relevant, but it might not. So we are looking at all of those categories of exemptions now and revising. The proposal is to revise them so that it makes sense.
Gotcha. Traveling Trotty asking, what impact, if any, has emigration of Bermudians had on the pool of jurors?
That is a really good question in terms of data. And I don't know. And I don't know because we're just starting to, through the Ministry of Economy, which covers the Census Office, just starting to track data on immigration. But I would think it does have an impact. The other area, which is related, is currently people who have had a criminal conviction are exempted. And if you've had a criminal conviction and that criminal conviction has been spent and it was something from 30 years ago, you know, if we believe in rehabilitation and restoration, as we say we do, then those people should be eligible for jury service as well. And they're clearly bringing life experience that might be very helpful. So that is something that's being looked at.
Indeed. Thank you for that, Minister. Kind of the same question. Philip Schwartz asking, do guest workers get called to jury duty, and Traveling Trotty, are PRCs eligible to serve on a jury?
So currently PRCs and guest workers are not eligible to serve on a jury. So jury service is limited to those who are on the electoral roll. And so that is the point of one of the points of consultation that is proposed to change. It's like, why should it be limited to the electoral roll? Because you could have people who are Bermudians, but for whatever reason, they're not on the electoral roll, right? That's one thing. And the second thing is, if you may be a PRC, a person who is BOTC status, right? The British Overseas Territories, citizen's passport, they're currently not eligible. Maybe they've lived in Bermuda for 30 years. And that is a pool of people who have kind of every benefit of residency and life in Bermuda. And for some defendants, they might form the jury of peer. So that is being looked at. And I've been interested looking at the polls so far to see that most of the polls that I'm, looking at say that Bermudians seem to be in favor of widening the pool to include those categories of people.
Yeah, I know, and I tried to look for it prior to this show, a case and jurisdiction where instead of a jury, well, the person on trial had the option to have a non-jury trial, right?
Yeah.
Is that something under consideration in this process?
Well, that currently exists. So for indictable offenses that are either or, right? So a person could, there's no jury in magistrate's court. They can decide to have their case heard in the magistrate's court. People take the view that, this is a very important case. I don't want a single judge to hear it. I think it's of importance that I'm electing to go to Supreme Court, and in which case it would be a jury trial. Well, depending on the nature of the case. In the UK, they just now have had proposed reforms that change the level of what they call either or offenses.
Right.
And their objective is to put more cases in the magistrate's court that won't need to be dealt with by a jury. And so they're changing the threshold. So really, cases that are not serious, should be dealt with in the magistrate's court, and the Supreme Court should just be dealing with the most serious of cases.
Yes, and I should have been more clear. I'm speaking about more serious cases, like with let's say murder or gun charges. Is that something under consideration where someone who's up for serious offense like murder can decide to go without a jury?
Not at the moment. So what the proposals are considering is that only if it's a case like murder would be a case where we would want to retain a jury, unless it falls in that category that we talked about earlier, where there is evidence that there's a high probability of witness or jury tamper or jury unsafety, let's say that, or in a case where the matter is so complex that a late jury might not be able to be guided by a judge to understand the facts of the case. To say it's a very complex white-collar crypto crime.
Gotcha.
That may be something that might be beyond the scope of kind of, a lay jury. So it's like, is that kind of case one that might be suitable for a specialized judge and not a jury, right? What we have been doing in the jurisdictional analysis is looking at other islands.
Okay.
And most of our peer islands have changed to smaller juries. So they will have juries of 8, 7, 9, except if it's a capital case. So except for murder or treason, those will be the only cases that retain a jury of 12. And we're such a small jurisdiction, right? I think the other islands have said, you can't even find 12 people, right? Who'd be willing to serve for, a long case that could be 6 weeks and so on for every kind of case that might go to the Supreme Court. So that is one of the proposals in front of us right now.
I was legit going to ask you that as well, like about, smaller juries than 12,
Yeah.
but glad that other islands are setting a precedent with that. Got a question, again, similar question, Traveling Trotty asking, what is the current compensation for jurors? And Glenn O'Chase asking, good morning. If someone is self-employed, what's the compensation benefit of doing jury duty? Is it viable?
Great question. And that's why I said, compensation is a thing. I think the compensation is something like, it's so ridiculous. I think it's like $50, right? And that's impossible for a person who is particularly self-employed. I was having my contractor doing some work in my house, and he says, hey, if I had to do jury duty, I'd have to close my business because I'm a small contractor. I'm the senior person. My team work for me and I guide them every day. If I was called off for 3 weeks, we'd have to shut down. And we understand that, and we've heard cases. A nursery school operator, for example, wrote to me. She had a teacher who was called for jury duty. And nursery schools have a very strict ratio under the Department of Health in terms of the number of teachers to students. And they must be in compliance with these ratios. And you can't just call in a teacher out of the blue to substitute, right? It's very, very difficult with all of the requirements that they would have to meet. So that would be an undue hardship on that business. So there may be categories that we should be looking at and understanding undue hardship. And there are other categories where there should be an understanding that if a person is called to serve, they would need to be compensated in a way that makes sense for them to do it. So I think that was the second question. It's like, I'm not going to want to do it because it doesn't make any sense. And I think someone wrote in the forum, in an earlier forum, they said that they served and they have not been able to recover financially because they got behind on the mortgage payments. And so these are real situations that we must look at.
Is it because I know that was when we were fighting ten conscription. One of our arguments was kind of like it's like you're pretty much taking us away from our jobs. Those who are paid hourly, or maybe barbers, and the money we're making doesn't make up for that.
Yeah.
And this is almost like this would have to be on a individual case by case basis. Like if someone's making 10,000 a month, there's someone who's making 3,000. Like how do you balance that? Like to make sure that it seems ethical and morally right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, so one of the proposal is that, the fee goes up, right? To kind of a reasonable daily rate. But even that is a thing where the feedback that I'm getting, and certainly, because people are writing to me or calling me all the time, and is that we need to bring some equity to it. Because when I served, and if you are employed, your employer is obligated to pay you for your time on jury service. So small business can't afford to do that either. Right? I served, I worked, at the time, I obviously wasn't in my role, the current role, but I was a lawyer in IB. I'm getting paid. It just was no, kind of was a no-brainer. I'm getting paid my regular salary and I'm going there every day. Somebody else is a small contractor. If you're a hairdresser or a barber, forget it. It's a no-win proposition. So we those are the kinds of things that are absolutely being looked at right now because they have to. Equity matters.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you for looking into that, because that again is a concern that it's one of those things, unless it impacts you, people just don't even think about it, consider it, and they'll just look, oh, that person just doesn't want to do their civic duty. It's actually deeper than what you see on the surface, folks. We've got Rosalind Famous asking, would the jury reform consider the need for professional language interpreters to provide proper language access?
Fantastic question. Thank you so much, Rosalind Famous. Some of the proposals also deal with the ability to assist someone who might be disabled, right? And I think we have in a modern world where we have to make accommodations for disabilities. What are we prepared to do with respect to jury service? So I think that's where that question was going. Now, there's an expectation that people are able to hear and follow, but what if you need some kind of aid to help you hear and so on, or an aid to help you write comments when you're in the jury room in the back. You do have the ability to hear, but you don't have a great ability to write. So these are things that are being looked at, and also updating some of the language in the Jurors Act. It's embarrassing. It would refer to a person who is mute as dumb, right? I mean, so we need to do those kinds of updates to the legislation as well.
Indeed. This is another one from Anthony Steed. It says, but this is why certain outlets such as TNN shouldn't post names and details before cases make it to trial, because then jury members have formulated an opinion based off of rumors. Let's speak about that a bit. The role social media and news, and I'll include even us, even though we don't do that, but we are media, but how that impacts, and is there anything in the jury reform discussions that is addressing this?
So one of the proposals deals is we should be looking at how we do sequestering of a jury. But I think that question goes to how jury members may be influenced before they're even called. They get in the pool and they're already hearing stuff. And I think that's a whole thing about, journalism and what are the lines. But once the jury is in panel, you're absolutely right. It is very difficult to keep a jury from being influenced by social media. And it's like, how do we do that? So those kinds of things are being looked at. And it's, if a case is getting to a point where a jury needs to be sequestered, and sequestered means that they need to be kind of placed in a bubble, so that they are no longer influenced by public at the point of being able to go out to make their decisions. We're looking at that as well. Yeah.
Indeed. You mentioned Hamilton Parish Council next week. Just remind people where that's taking place and also how they can continue to give back feedback, and when does this consultation close?
Okay, the consultation is on forum.gov.bm. It closes at the end of the year, December 31st. But there are some groups that we haven't gotten to. So we're still going to be doing some in-person consultation into January. And we know, like, hey, Bermudians going to shut down when it's Christmas time and everybody's focused on something else. So we recognize that the formal consultation on forum may close at the end of the year, but we will still be doing some face-to-face. We will be seeing the Hamilton Parish Council. I believe it's at Francis Patton, December 11th at 6:30. So that will be being promoted over the next few days for Hamilton Parish residents. And those are meant to be kind of more intimate settings. It's not a town hall because we recognize that sometimes people will not ask questions in a big forum that in a smaller forum that they may ask, because sometimes people have really personal questions about why they can't serve. One of the things that I haven't mentioned is that we are also reviewing how automatic kind of preemptions from the pool are being dealt with. I was called by someone who said their husband had been called into the jury pool. They sent a letter from the doctor saying that he was medically unfit, and the judicial office wrote back and said, but he still had to show up. I know personally this person is cancer patient on a feeding tube. And so I'm sitting back and I'm saying, the judiciary said something to me, but of course it's independent. And I'm saying, this isn't right. It's downright disrespectful. But I think that it comes from a background where people would have kind of, manufactured all kinds of excuses not to go. So they're trying to really ferret out what's truly legitimate and what isn't. But we should be making that easier and definitely more respectful.
Yes, indeed. And before you head out, Minister, what do you want to leave the public with this morning in terms of, feeling confident that this is going to change? And I know some people are like, oh, this will never impact me. I'm not going to the court system, but it can impact you if you're on the electoral, your name's listed and you vote, and it can impact you because you could be called. But what would you say to them to leave them with confidence that this jury reform process is going to be beneficial for them in the long term?
Thank you. Thank you for that. First of all, I want to say that, it is a civic duty to serve on a jury, right? We understand through this process many of the frustrations. We probably haven't heard all of them around why people have a reluctance to serve. But it is important work, and I want to assure people that it's rewarding because, Jamal, you just talked about the case the other day where, you have 4 defendants all went free, and then people are saying, what happened? Well, many people are saying what happened. Many people were also saying, but I wouldn't want to be on the jury in a case like that, right? But this is where you have the opportunity to really bring value to something that is important for justice in our country. And so that is why you want to serve, because we are 1 degree separated from either being in the jury pool or being connected with a victim, right? And we want to make sure that this is a fair system. That's what it's about.
Indeed, Minister, thank you so much for having this conversation. I'm looking forward to more because your ministry covers quite a bit. But thank you for this. And I think the audience, you brought a level of understanding this morning, and how you hope this process improves the jury process in Bermuda. So thank you for what you shared, and please don't be a stranger. If there's ever
I don't intend to. We and I know you said that you felt people want to talk about some other things. A lot is going on in the Ministry of Justice. The public would know that we're having an international assessment of our prisons, and that when I took up this role, I took prison under this ministry. It was previously with National Security, and my feeling was that I think that justice, restoration, and rehabilitation should be outside the arm that does enforcement. And so we do want to talk about what's going to happen out of that review, and how we're looking at rehabilitation and restoration, with respect to our not just our prison population, but how we're thinking about violence reduction by being in front of it. There's a lot there, enforcement is behind it, right? And it's like, how do we what are we actually doing from a justice standpoint? Clearly in collaboration with education, social, and national security, but around changing, just changing our society so that young people have better options. And I think that's it.
Yeah, indeed. I love it. I do. Thank you so much for this conversation. And I really, really look forward to engaging more on the other things, especially the prison system. That's one that can cover 2 hours.
For sure. It may be a two-parter, but yeah.
Yes, indeed. But thank you, Minister. If we don't communicate before, please do, you and your family enjoy the holiday, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
All right, that's Minister Kim Wilkerson, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. Folks, if you're streaming with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We're going to take our final break. We come back, going to wrap it up, but I got a daily play for you. I want to see if you all get this daily play. Stick with us.
Warning, this video contains flashing lights.
Oh yeah, just getting her? We've been doing this all along.
Free sign-up, no dimensional weight, the fastest customs clearance, and the lowest prices. Now, that's ZipX.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda Business starts here.
For over 70 years, Bermuda Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses island-wide. We offer a full suite of services, including rodent control, termite fumigation, and general insect control and maintenance. Our team of experts will quickly and efficiently eliminate any pest problem you may have. With Bermuda Pest Control, you can enjoy a pest-free home in no time. We're committed to providing fast, reliable, and solution-driven services for our customers. It's what we've been doing since 1952. Call Bermuda Pest Control today and say goodbye to pests for good.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Novazog Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Considering the increasing challenges faced by financial institutions, the need for insurance protection is a critical component of the risk management framework. At Friesenbrook, our priority is to safeguard your assets with the most optimal, cost-effective risk management cover to help protect your business. Whether it be cyber, directors and officer liability, professional indemnity, or property insurance. Call us on 296-3600 to learn more about our full suite of competitive corporate insurance products. At Friesenbrook, we provide insurance you can count on.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. Thanks again to the Minister of Justice, Attorney General, the Honorable Kim Wilkerson, for that conversation. Folks, again, if you appreciated it, do us a big favor if you're streaming with us. It literally takes you 1 second and costs you nothing but a few seconds. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, or Instagram. Hit that like, love, follow, share the information with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Take part in this process. Take part in this process. I know it seems like the government's asking us to do a lot, but when the time comes and things get done, we can't have an excuse that we didn't know or we weren't a part of the process. So please, I'm encouraging you all to get involved, stay involved, and make sure that decisions that are being made have your input. Please, I encourage you to do that. All right. Well, I've got to admit, and I'll say it after Daily Play, that I'm pretty bothered, and I'll tell you why in a few. But welcome back to the Big Show. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House, Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring we can do this with you on a regular basis and pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5 with these most important community conversations. Folks, it is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Bermuda Trivia is being sold at the airport today as the performances continue at the Skyport Choir Competition. So go check them out. Some other schools heading down there today. You can check it out online, but support the young people. They're beautiful, wonderful talent. I mean, just makes me want to go back and be in a choir, but go check them out. And while you're down there in intermission, you can find Bermuda Trivia, various games, the coloring book, the crossword puzzle, and also follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, it's time. Are you ready? It's holiday trivia today. Nope. I had a question for you all. Oh, here we go. Here's today's Daily Play. Here we go. In the song Silver Bells, what is dressed in holiday style? I just gave you a hint. I hummed it for you. Man, Julie, you are good. You know your Christmas carols. That's right. Sidewalks. Yes. A woman. No mark off the seat, but Zena and Stacy and Jewel, sidewalks it is. It is. Stoplights. Nope, not stoplights. All right, folks, let's wrap it up. Let's start with the discussion this morning. We spoke about Bermudian leadership. I have on good authority. I just woke up this morning and said I wanted to discuss this because something about Bermuda tourism really aggravates me. And I'll probably do a full video about this very soon or write a blog. But something bothers me at the fact that Black Bermudians never seem to be good enough. And not just for the boards or the non-Black Bermudians, but for Black Bermudians ourselves. So I'm speaking to Black Bermudians right now. Why don't we want to support the competent among us? And then what happens, especially with DEI, we call for Black Bermudians, and then the wrong Black Bermudian gets appointed, right? And then they ruin the opportunity for when the right Black Bermudian gets the chance. It's disappointing that We ourselves don't believe that we're good enough. It's disappointing that someone's ice is always colder. We have to look deep within. This is not on anyone else. You know, a friend of mine and I often say, no one's coming to save us. Only we can save ourselves. And it has to start by really looking out for our community. It's shameful. And it's not getting any better for us. It's not getting any better. Since Bermuda Tourism became the Bermuda Tourism Authority, there's never really been true Black Bermudian leadership because we're not trusted. We're not trusted by others, and we're not trusted by ourselves. It's funny because it does translate to the conversation about jury reform. We had a colleague say that I would be afraid to be on a jury with certain people on it. Speaking about Black women. Said I would hate to be a Black man with some Black women on the jury. And it kind of goes to what I said just now. The disdain that we have for one another. This is why we continue to have the problems we have in our community. And we don't even see how things are connected and intertwined. When we don't think we're good enough, they don't think we're good enough, the results are what's spilling out in our streets. I always say that DEI didn't solve any problems to me. Putting Black faces into certain spaces doesn't solve our problems. Unless those Black faces have the courage to do what's necessary to ensure that they're not the last Black face in that space, to ensure that they're pulling others up with them. We don't do that. And for those who do, it's very few and far between. Peter Godwin says, we don't value ourselves, so how can we value each other? I need everyone this morning to look in their phone and put it on selfie mode or the mirror closest to you and just say to yourself, I am enough. Seriously, type it in the comments. Just tell yourself, I am enough. I'm tired of seeing Bermudians being overlooked and treated like crap. You are enough. The conversation with the AG. This is long overdue, jury reform, for the number of reasons and more that she discussed. I'm a true believer that the process has to improve. It must improve. And yes, it impacts all of us. Even if you're not registered to vote, it impacts you. Because for those people who sit on the jury and they don't take it seriously, and the most dangerous of person walks free, it impacts you. For those who sit on juries and just want to keep convicting Black men simply because they're before the courts, yes, it impacts you. My hope is that you participate in this process if you have something to say. And if you don't, you share the information with others who may. All right, I've got to give you some daily inspiration. But I kind of already did. And I'm just going to leave you with this. Say it loud. And say it proud. I am enough. You are enough. Repeat it every morning till you get tired of hearing it. And if you believe it, you probably wouldn't. Alrighty, folks. I'm going to let you go to enjoy the rest of your day, but please don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a regular basis and pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5 with these most important community conversations. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow, folks. Get down to the airport, support the young people singing, and make sure you stop by the local vendors. Bermuda Trivia is there. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. VR is out. Peace.